In our earlier video, we mentioned that once you reach the threshold of 500,000 ringgit, you have to register for GST within 28 days from the end of the month in which the threshold is met. The effective date of mandatory registration is on the first day of the month following the month in which the business is required to notify its liability to be registered. What about businesses that have not met the threshold of 500,000 ringgit? Can you register for GST if you want to? Yes, you can. Voluntary registration. A person can apply for voluntary registration even though the value of his taxable supplies does not exceed the prescribed threshold of 500,000 ringgit. A person can be registered if he intends to make any taxable supplies, provided he can satisfy the Director General that he is committed to doing business by submitting some documents such as details of business arrangements, copies of contracts, details of patents, details of business purchases, or other documentary evidence. A person who is making wholly out-of-scope supplies is also allowed to be registered under GST subject to the Director General's approval. A person who voluntarily registers for GST shall remain registered for at least 2 years. So take note, people who are thinking of making voluntary registration for GST, if your threshold is below 500,000 ringgit and you're thinking of making a GST registration, please take note that once you register, you must remain in the system for at least 2 years. Any person who was initially registered for making or intending to make a supply outside Malaysia, which would be a taxable supply if made in Malaysia, and subsequently makes or intends to make a taxable supply in Malaysia, is also required to notify the Director General within 30 days from the date of occurrence of intention to make taxable supply in Malaysia. What are the factors to consider whether you should volunteer to register or not for GST if your taxable turnover is below 500,000 ringgit? Some of the factors to consider: you have to keep records for up to 7 years. You have to issue tax invoices, tax receipts. You have to keep proper records for all the transactions involving GST. You would need to file GST returns on time to avoid penalties. And these GST returns are filed either monthly, quarterly, or half-yearly. You would need to train your staff to ensure that they are able to perform the charging and accounting of GST correctly for your business transactions. When GST paid exceeds GST collected, the difference can be claimed from the government as a GST refund. When GST collected exceeds GST paid, you are to pay the difference to the government. You would probably need to modify your accounting system so that the system reflects and applies the correct GST rate for your business transactions. You need to display GST inclusive prices. You may need to change your price displays to include the GST. You may need to update your brochures and price displays, price tags. Whether you intend to pass on the cost of the GST or maintain your price competitiveness by absorbing the GST is a business decision that you would have to make. For more information, please go to www.gstmalaysia.org. Thank you.